just. So when writing an academic essay, there are three components. There's the introduction paragraph, the body paragraphs, and conclusions. When doing so, you want to remember these following things. When you write an introduction paragraph, you must do the following. You start your paragraph by going from a general topic to a specific thesis statement. So I've decided to show you how to do this by looking at a book that I used to read in grade 12 college, which was called High Fidelity. And I'm showing you how I would design an essay or opening paragraph and a body paragraph for that book. So example is writers have always dealt with the complexity of modern relationships between men and women. After, you should begin to move towards your specific thesis statement by explaining the reasons why your thesis is correct. Here's an example. One novel that deals with this is High Fidelity by Nick Hornby. Hornby tells us the story of a 35-year-old record shop owner named Rob who struggles with his relationships. Rob doesn't see relationships as positive, but as power struggles. Rob also takes no responsibility for any negative things that happen in his relationships. It also doesn't help that Rob has some major issues with his own self-worth. So in that, I've identified the three, and I'm just going to just put a little yellow light here. These are the three things that if I wrote an essay, those are my three topics for my body paragraphs, right? Each of them are a reason. So I've kind of told you in your introduction what I'm going to talk about. Your introduction paragraph should let me, as the reader, know what you're going to cover. The last part is you end your introduction with your thesis statement, what your essay intends to prove. And this is my thesis statement at the end. Andy and Rob problems with women are not because of the women in his life, but because of himself. So when it looks like this. Now, there's a controversy, not controversy, but some people have decided not to put indents in their paragraph, but to have double space between each paragraph. So we put indents in a paragraph. It doesn't matter. To me, you just have to be able, I have to be able to tell when one paragraph begins and one paragraph ends. So if you notice this section, I've taken all of the parts that were here spread out to my explanation and made an introduction paragraph. So you can look at that on your own, right? I've also sort of labeled what each of those sections are doing. That's your introduction, okay? When writing body paragraphs or when writing academic essay, you must do three things in order to effectively communicate your ideas. First, you must make affirmative statements on the subject of your essay that you're going to prove. Do not use personal pronouns, I, in academic, argumentative, and persuasive essays. Now, I know some people do that. Some people say it. I don't particularly like it. I think it's a good idea that if you're making an argument, you don't really make it about you, because I can reject your ideas, and I want you to sort of make it where you're presenting these ideas and you're not even really involved. You're just stating the information and it's proof, and there's no objection to it based upon who you are, who I am. Only use I when writing personal essays journals. So like notice how we did the journal, the first one to be number one, we were pretending to be a character, we used I. If I said write a personal experience, you would use I. But in academic essays, don't really use I, right? You want to be positive, avoid statements such as I think so. If you say I think so, I'm not going to believe you. Affirmative, positive statements with no personal pronouns states that does it in a way to show that you know what you're talking about. This is not something up for debate. The way how you see it and describe it is what it is, right? So for example, Rob has a negative attitude when it comes to his love life. Rob doesn't see relationships as warm, nurturing situations in which he can grow. It's quite the opposite. Rob views dating and relationships as ongoing power struggle with the opposite sex. So notice I'm affirmative. I don't say I explain the situation and I tell you what my point is. I'm covering one of the points that was in my introduction paragraph. So you don't say I, you don't have to say I think so. I don't say I think so. I speak about this as if it's the truth. And you should do that in your essays too. You speak in an essay as if what you're saying is the absolute truth. If you say I think so or maybe, I can reject that. That's not an argument. That's a discussion. And quite frankly, I'm not looking for that in this essay. I'm looking for clear, here's my thesis statement. Here's why the thesis statement is correct. Quote, find a quote from the text that you are studying that proves that your statement is correct. Quotes are indented, single space. You put the authors and the page number of the quote. So there are two ways of doing it. There's a single sentence quote that exists within the paragraph, and there's one that's separate from the paragraph to show it is a quote. Let's look at one of them. Attack or defense, invasion, repulsion is as if breasts were little pieces of property that have been unlawfully annexed by the opposite sex. They're rightfully ours and we wanted them back. Hornby, page 11. All right. For when you want to write more than one sentence, it looks like this. It would be nice to think that I've gotten older. As I've gotten older, times have changed. Relationships have become more sophisticated. Females less cruel, skin thicker, reactions sharper, instincts more developed. But there still seems to be an element of that evening in everything that has happened to me since. All of my romantic stories seem to be scrambled versions of that first one. Hornby, page 9. So when you quote somebody, you always at the end put the author's last name and the page you find the quote on. Don't put scene 2, don't put the book, author's last name and page number. I know you're talking about Streetcar Named Desire. I know that's the book we're focusing on. So all you're acknowledging is who's the person who wrote it and where can you find the quote. Next thing you do is you explain. You explain why your quote is an example of why your statement is correct. The first thing, you make an affirmative statement. You clearly explain why your quote supports your statement. Rob uses terms like attack and defense to describe the motivations of women he has been involved with. His mindset, these women are out to hurt him and he needs to protect himself from them. Rob doesn't see women as liberators, but as enslavers, and he a victim to their whims. Okay, that's how you put together a body paragraph. And again, I've shown you two different things. Now, this stuff in bold, if you notice I put this in bold, it does not mean you put the quote in bold. I'm merely doing that to draw your attention to how it looks like. A single sentence quote has quotation marks around it. It stays within the paragraph, keeps the format of the paragraph, and at the end you just put the author's last name and page number. You don't need to bold it or italics it. Just keep it the way it is. I did it here so you know, hey, that's the quote I talked about. When it's a multiple sentence quote, notice how I first made the quote single spaced while the rest of the text is, I think, a space, either space and a half or double spaced. I indented the quote from the beginning of the paragraph. Now, this was if I indented this paragraph, they would actually even just match up, which is fine. I put all the information here, but I don't put the quotation marks around it because I don't need to. I'm showing you this is not my words. I'm separating from my own words and I'm giving you information from the text. But I still put the author's last name and page number. Then I go back to my paragraph. Notice how I did say in the quote below, I'm going to say this. And notice when I left the quote, I didn't say in the quote above, I said this. You don't have to, right? It's a style of writing that shows more academic or more growth. But you don't have to tell me a quote is coming. And you don't have to tell me the quote is over. I'll know that because I'm reading it. When you eat dinner, you don't say, I'm going to put this fork in my mouth. Now I'm going to chew the food. I'm not going to chew the food. The food's going through my stomach and through my colon, and eventually it's going to come out in about 8 hours. Won't that be fun? You don't say those things, so it's a flow of writing. You just make your statement, you provide your evidence, you explain why your quote supports the stuff up here. That's the structure. So that's what your paragraph should look like. Clean, neat, evidence here, page number here. And let's say you had multiple quotes you were going, you would then keep on talking in this paragraph, you provide another quote, you follow the same pattern, right? Because if your paragraph is covering an idea and you have multiple quotes to prove that idea, you follow the same pattern over and over and over again. Same rules, okay? So because you're in grade 12, I'm going to be on top of you guys about this because formatting is important. And again, you don't want to come off as you are taking ideas that aren't yours or that you are plagiarizing. Universities do not like the concept of plagiarizing, and they will punish you severely if you do that. So follow that format, follow that structure, and conclusion is moves. You see the statement, you then move from your thesis statement to your general topic, which means you kind of explain what your thesis statement is, re-explain it. You kind of apply it to the general topic, and then you apply specific knowledge learned in the essay to another situation. So for our essay we're writing right now, or for the essay that you're writing right now, it's important that if you say, you know, that you're proving your statement that Blanche, when we compare Stella to Blanche, Belinda, Blanche is unable to adapt to her environment, tell me why is it an important thing for people to learn to do? Why do you think the author, and what lessons the author show us when he shows Blanche? And what is he saying about adaptation? Because remember, every character trait, everything created in a piece of fiction is done for a reason. And if a person cannot adapt and suffers, the author is telling you something about adaptation, right? If a character is greedy and ends up dying alone, they're telling you what they think about people who hold on to greed, right? Every piece of fiction is designed to teach a message or a theme or a story. When they have the characters go through something, how they handle it, what happens to them is a lesson for the audience to pick up on. So please remember to do that in your conclusion. What is this? Why is this important? And how can we, and is the theory presented, can it be applied to other situations? So can the idea of adaptation, that without adaptation people suffer, can it be applied to anything else in our modern day world? It's up to you.